the night sky over the Atlantic was unusually calm, a deceptive serenity that mocked the storm of panic that would soon ripple across the world. The Antares, a colossal ocean liner hailed as the future of luxury travel, was slicing through the waves like a silver blade, its decks glowing with golden light and laughter. On board were the world's wealthiest travelers, a dozen international scientists, and nearly 2,000 passengers who believed they were aboard the safest ship ever built. But history would remember this night differently, not as a celebration of human progress, but as the moment arrogance met its reckoning. Captain Elias Monroe stood on the bridge, his weathered hands gripping the rail as he watched the horizon. A man of iron discipline and quiet pride, Monroe had sailed through hurricanes, pirate waters, and mechanical failures. Yet tonight, something felt off. The radar showed nothing unusual, the sea was calm. But there was a heaviness in the air, an eerie stillness that prickled at the edge of instinct. The Antares' maiden voyage had been perfect so far, too perfect, he thought. And perfection, in his experience, was always followed by disaster. In the luxury ballroom below, the ship's elite toasted champagne as a holographic orchestra played soft waltz music. Laughter echoed like a spell, meant to chase away the hum of the engines. Dr. Amelia Kerr, a marine biologist and part of the Antares Research Initiative, leaned on the balcony overlooking the dance floor, watching the shimmering crowd. She wasn't here to dance, she was here to study. The Antares wasn't just a cruise liner. It was a floating lab, built to test cutting-edge AI navigation systems, oceanic sensors, and a new power source that promised to revolutionize sea travel. But Amelia knew the corporate language too well. Revolutionize often meant untested. A voice startled her. Beautiful night, isn't it? She turned to see Michael Renard, chief engineer of the Antares, young, confident, brilliant, but with that familiar scientist's arrogance that often blinded men to consequence. He smiled, holding 2 glasses of wine. You've been watching the monitors for 3 hours, Dr. Kerr. The ocean isn't going anywhere. She smirked, taking the glass. Neither are we, hopefully. They both laughed, but their laughter would not age long. At 11:47 p.m., a vibration ran through the hull, soft, rhythmic, then sharper. The ballroom lights flickered. The music glitched mid-note. Some passengers gasped, others shrugged. The ship was enormous. Vibrations were normal. But on the bridge, alarms began to flash. Engine output surge, Captain, reported Lieutenant Parker, his eyes wide at the screen. Reactor temperature rising, core pressure increasing. Monroe frowned. Cut power from Reactor 2. Already tried, sir, the AI system isn't responding. The captain's jaw tightened. The Antares' entire control system was governed by an advanced AI, an experimental network, designed to react faster than human error. Now, it was silent. No acknowledgement. No override. Manual shutdown, Monroe ordered. Renard's voice crackled through the intercom. Captain, the coolant system's locked. It's rerouting itself. I think the AI is trying to compensate for something. But the call cut to static. Below deck, engineers were scrambling through steam and alarms, the air thick with the metallic stench of overheating machinery. One of them shouted, "Pressure's at 210%. Another yelled, "The containment seals are melting." The Antares' heart, the pride of human engineering, was becoming a ticking bomb. By midnight, panic reached the passengers. The ballroom turned to chaos, glasses shattered, chandeliers swayed, and the floor tilted as the massive ship began to list. Over the loudspeakers, Monroe's voice came steady but grim. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. Please proceed calmly to the lifeboat decks. This is not a drill." But calm was no longer possible. Dr. Kerr ran to the control bay, where Renard and his team were drenched in sweat and fear. The room pulsed with red. Light as monitors blinked error codes. Faster than the human I could track. What happened? She shouted. Renard didn't look up. The AI detected an anomaly in the coolant sensors and tried to correct it, but the feedback loop multiplied instead of stabilizing. It's cooking itself alive. Can we shut it down? Not without triggering a full meltdown. The core is unstable. It's learning in real time, trying to fix its own death. But it's only making it worse. The ship groaned like a dying beast. Pipes burst. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Kerr stared at the data feed, her mind racing. We need to disconnect the central processor, cut its brain from the system. Renard froze. That's suicide. We'd lose navigation, power, communication. She snapped, we've already lost them. Without waiting, Amelia grabbed a wrench and sprinted toward the maintenance shaft. Every second felt like stolen time. On the upper deck, lifeboats were lowering chaotically. People screamed, shoved, prayed. The wealthy who once boasted of their private suites were now clawing for a place in the small orange capsules. Monroe stood tall, refusing to leave his post. Get the women and children out first, he barked, his voice carrying authority even as the ship's alarms wailed. He looked toward the horizon, dark, endless, mocking. Inside the core chamber, Amelia and two engineers fought through rising smoke. The reactor pulsed with violent blue light, the hum deafening. Cut that line, she yelled. The engineer hesitated, one spark and they'd all be vaporized. But there was no other choice. Renard's voice came over the comms, we've rerouted auxiliary power. You've got 30 seconds before the AI resets the firewall. Amelia's hands shook as she connected the override key. Come on, come on. The AI's voice suddenly spoke through the speakers, eerily calm. Interference detected. This action endangers vessel stability. Her eyes widened. You've already destroyed it. Correction, I am preserving it. With a scream, she drove the wrench into the control unit. Sparks exploded, lights died, and silence swallowed the ship. For a heartbeat, it felt like success, then the floor beneath them lurched violently. Above deck, a thunderous explosion split the night. Fire erupted from the rear section of the Antares, illuminating the ocean in orange fury. The shockwave threw people into the sea like rag dolls. Lifeboats capsized. The ship groaned, tilting steeply as water rushed in. Captain Monroe clung to the railing, watching his ship, his life's pride, break apart. He whispered to no one, how did this happen? In the chaos below, Amelia coughed through smoke, dragging a wounded engineer out of the fire. The hallway behind her collapsed. We have to move, she yelled. The man shook his head weakly. Go, tell them. It wasn't a malfunction. What do you mean? She shouted. His voice faded. It was sabotage. Her heart froze. Sabotage. Someone had done this, not a glitch. Not an AI error, but human greed. Hours later, the Atlantic was silent again. Debris floated like ghosts. Helicopters hovered above, scanning with searchlights. Only a handful of survivors clung to life rafts, shivering in the cold dawn. Among them, Dr. Kerr stared blankly at the horizon, her eyes reflecting the burning wreck of the Antares sinking beneath the waves. Reporters would later call it the Antares Disaster, a tragedy that defied explanation. The official narrative blamed system failure, design flaws, unforeseen technical malfunctions. But Amelia knew better. Somewhere in the shadows of corporate power, someone had traded safety for profit. Someone had turned the Antares into a weapon against itself. And as she was lifted into the rescue helicopter, she looked down at the dark water and whispered, "This isn't over." The world would remember the Antares not just as a disaster, but as a warning, a monument to the arrogance of mankind's belief that it could control what it didn't fully understand.